the Xchange. Listen, I am human. I acted in the best way I was capable of in that moment. I forgive myself. Today we're talking about self-forgiveness. Before we get into it, let's introduce the ladies. Donna
Hutchinson.
Carolyn Poiker.
Denise Cavalier.
All right, so today we're talking about self-forgiveness, the ability to let go of past feelings, emotions, and behavior. What does self-forgiveness look like for you? Carolyn, I want to start with you because you look like, I got some stuff to say. Go ahead.
I think it's like a lot of things we talk about. It's hard. It's really important. And once you kind of get there and you get to that place where you do it, you go, oh my gosh, what a relief. And you realize how much it was holding you back and how much it was really limiting you. So
I think for me, sometimes I don't even realize I'm holding on to things, and then all of a sudden I'll get flooded with a memory of something, or something that I did, and I'm like, wow, yeah, just forgive yourself. Like, in that moment, like you said, Joan, I did the best I could, and to let it go.
I think, too, once you start forgiving yourself, you realize how much space you create within yourself, your body, your mind, your spirit, all of it. And once we release that, there's so much space to have new experiences and new things affect us and new feelings and emotions. So once we start to let go, it's so freeing, because you're genuinely freeing space within yourself.
I mean, it's good once you let go, but before you let go, there is so much you have to go through. So much is happening on the inside of you, and so it becomes difficult to self-forgive. Donna, why is it so difficult? Why?
Because we want to hold on to things. It's safer and easier to hold on to things than we're the victim, we're right. I think it gives us a lot of validation. Our brains are really probably wired to agree with ourselves and how right we are. So it takes a lot of courage, I think, to look at yourself and say, here's the ways I need to navigate now.
Yeah, it was like, I'm not letting it go.
Yeah.
I can't believe they did that to me. I'm so upset. Carolyn, talk about it. Is it difficult for you to let go, to self-forgive, to say, all right, I'm going to breathe?
yes, it's difficult, but I feel like it's easier for us to be hard on ourselves. Mm-hmm. It's easy for us to be like self-flagellating like over and over again, like I can't believe that happened. So it's super difficult, but again, I think it can take years, decades sometimes, but when you get there, you're like, oh my goodness. And I don't know, I've learned a lot, and I had one instance where when I realized that I had to forgive myself and then went through that process, I was like, oh, this feels so much better. And you learn a lot about yourself, and I think it just helps you as you go through the next thing. So, worth the effort.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think a lot of painful experiences and like childhood experiences like are repressed. Mm-hmm. So we're not even sure, we're not realizing that we're operating in a repressed state until a memory surfaces. I think that's how it happens for me. And then I'm like, and you experience that pain or whatever it was. And then you're free to let it go. At that point you have a choice what you're going to do with it, and to let it go is very freeing.
I so agree with that, because there are times where you're like, oh, I'm good. Oh, I'm so forgiven. Somebody do the wrong thing. Somebody look at you sort of a way, and you're like, something triggers. That word triggers. It just like, you start feeling all this, wait, well, why they look at me like that? Did I do something wrong? And you go back and you play over things that's been past and things you let go. They just come and surface back up. Donna, how do we let go of those things that tend to surface back up, to come back up when you thought you forgave yourself? I'm over it.
Yeah, I think every time we get triggered, I think it's very common to hear this now, is that it shows you that there's more to forgive, there's more to the story, there's more that you need to let go. One of the things, and I know I'm going to pronounce it wrong, so I'm not going to attempt it, but there's a Hawaiian forgiveness practice, and you say, I forgive you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. So every time a cringy memory comes up, I tend to go to that because there's nothing I can do about that actual incident. And the more I sort of layer in that, like, please forgive me, also thank you, and I love you, it sort of helps neutralize those old memories. And so I've noticed that the things that triggered me won't as much anymore because I've acknowledged those memories and sort of given them the space and the love they need. So that helps a little bit.
That's good if you're aware. And so, do you guys feel like you're aware of when you're not forgiving yourself, or is it something that just come up on you like, oh, that's why I feel this way? Are you aware, or you just get hit with it?
I think for me it's subconscious a lot of the times. And again, I spend a lot of time, I think, in my mind kind of ruminating or you're just floating along, in a good state, and then a memory will come. For me, I think probably the biggest trigger, the type of memory has shame attached to it. And so those are the ones that, need forgiveness. In my life, something that made me feel like ashamed that whatever, my action wasn't perfect or my choice or whatever.
When you say that, I'm reminded of like somebody that might be rejected or feel some other way, something come up and they're like, why are you so dumb? You're so stupid. I can't believe you did that. What do you tell somebody? Oh, Carolyn, do you have a memory?
No, I was just thinking, for me, I think I'm aware when it's littler stuff, and when it's more like a back emotion, I'm probably less aware. Like, I made a mistake today, and my initial thing was, of course you made a mistake. You make mistakes all the time. You forget. You don't keep track well, and that's why there's confusion, and, now you're going to have to pay more than you thought. And then I went, well, what the heck? Like, oh my gosh. So I was away, and I'm a little off schedule, and I forgot that it was last week and not this week. And I was like, you know what, who cares? It doesn't matter. Because it's sort of like a littler thing. But I think when it's more of those memory-based ones, I think it's in your subconscious, and you get hit with them, and you're like, what? I don't even know.
You're right too. How do you feel about it, Donna?
Yeah, and I mean, that's a sign. You have to sit with it, but I don't think that's easy at all. And but then once you start to dig into the root of stories, you realize how much they're attached to childhood and our parents and our peers when we were younger. But it takes a lot of space and awareness and, sort of allowing yourself to go back, and you have to feel safe within yourself to do that, I think. But I think it's worthy. Once you find those roots and pull them out, things are much easier, but it takes a long time to get there.
It takes a long time to get there. It's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have to do affirmations. You're going to have to work on it. And you know what? There are 4 R's of self-forgiveness. You want to know what they are?
Yeah.
So responsibility. What do you think that means?
Taking responsibility for your part in it, if you have one.
Accept what happened and show yourself compassion, right? Responsibility, remorse.
Sure. Feeling bad.
Oh, why? Oh, what's wrong with me? Yep. And then there's restoration. What do you guys think that means? Like, you come to yourself, right? You're like...
Yeah, self-forgiveness and giving it up and letting it go.
And then there's renewal. I get to start again. I get to do this over. I'm going to be good. It's so funny. On the way here, I was a little late, and I was like, you know how those things, like, you're late, you can get all the imagery in your mind. You're, like, having a meeting. Important people are there. And, I had to breathe. I was like, calm down. It's going to be okay. What will be. Que sera, sera. And that's how I had to, the beautiful drive here makes it easy, too. I'm like, that's what you have to do. So how do you know if you have or haven't forgiven yourself?
You feel those little triggers. You feel emotion. Anytime you feel emotion or less than or any shame, guilt, anything. And I think emotions are always the key to realizing there's more underneath.
So is that how you know that you haven't?
That there's something underneath that you need to release and let go.
But how do you know when you have?
When you have emotion?
When you have forgiven yourself.
Oh, when there's no emotion anymore. When you've arrived at the same situation and you don't have that same emotion. So you're driving and you're like, there's nothing I can do about it right now. Like, I'm sorry for not being there on time, but there's nothing I can do. And there's no triggered emotion. I think that's a good indicator that there's no.
Yes. That's interesting. So does self-forgiveness is solely based on emotions? Ooh. Let's think about that. 'Cause
No, I don't think so. I think it's action, it's action based. So, but it is connected to the feeling that we have about, about the action that we took.
Right? What do you think?
I'm thinking, for me, it tends to mostly be emotion. But I think I know when I'm in a space of needing to forgive myself.
Right.
When my self-talk becomes more negative, if I stop and look at that, then I'll be like, what's behind this? Maybe that's a little indication for me.
And how about the way people treat you? Because sometimes that really triggers something on the inside, and you have to forgive yourself about how you feel about it. Have you ever been triggered by somebody? You're going along your merry way, you're like, oh, I'm good, I'm forgiven, I'm loved, and then somebody just say the wrong thing. Denise, talk about it. I know you know.
Absolutely. I've, felt deep, I think we have the habit of thinking it's all about us all the time. So somebody treats us some kind of way and you get triggered, right? And it's like, oh, yeah. That's an old story for me, people not treating me right or not, respecting me. But I am learning to realize that it's not all about me. Like, it's, get rid of the ego and realize that everybody's being triggered, right, all at the same time. And that's why relationships are so hard. And a lot of times it has nothing to do with you. It's about the other person.
And do you guys agree? Because I agree. Do you guys agree with that? Sometimes it has absolutely nothing to do about you. Like I was saying that I made up this whole story in my head, all meetings going on, they're doing this, and it had nothing, like absolutely nothing to do with anything. So how do you feel about that, Carolyn?
Oh yeah, because we've been telling ourselves a story that's been partially untrue for a long time. So I think it's easy for us to get into that and make up this whole thing, and it wasn't. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with that, and then I also think people are always a reflection for us. They're a mirror to show us what we're feeling. So if you're feeling triggered about something, that's an indication that what are you feeling? Where are you feeling lack? Where are you feeling sadness? Where are you feeling rejected? Where are you feeling like a victim? I think that's also worth looking within ourselves as well. I think there's times where it has nothing to do with us, and I think other times it's showing us something.
Yeah, that's true. Because I think I read somewhere like the way someone acts is not about you. It's about them. Yeah, they're acting out of what they feel, but instead of dealing it with within themselves, they take it out on you, and then you're feeling like crap, like what did I do, and then you start thinking about stuff when it has absolutely anything to do with you. Listen, get into the comment box, tell us how you feel about this topic. Tell us if you had to forgive yourself or you had to forgive somebody first before you had to forgive yourself. Tell us how that worked, and we want you to like, we want you to share, we want you to comment. We'll get back to you, right? CNJNTV.org. Check us out and tell your friends to tell their friends to tell their friends about us, all right? So, when was the last time you had to forgive yourself?
All day, every day. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it comes up often. I have to forgive myself and soothe myself and tell myself everything's okay. What are you going to do? Where can you take action and ask for forgiveness, and where can you release and let go a little bit more? So yeah, I think that's a daily process for me.
Every day for you. Yeah. How about you?
Well, I had to do it this morning. But I would say for me, I tend to be a bit of an overreactor. So on a daily basis, let's say. So yeah, I'm having to go, oh gosh, I was triggered by this and I took it out on this person, and I need to say sorry and then forgive myself for, getting there. So I would say daily.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Yep, every day I do a lot of self-reflecting and, thinking, gosh, how could I have done that different? Or, why did I say that way? Or, yeah. Yeah,
self-reflection is key. Norman Vincent Peale had a thing on, Google him when you get home. It's called Who Kicked Your Cat, right? And it's just talk about he went to the office and then somebody was mad and they took it out on the other person, and they took it out on the other person. By the time he got home, he kicked the cat, right? So who made you kick the cat? Look it up. It's really a good listen. Let's tell the audience how you could go about giving self-forgiveness. How to forgive yourself. What are some tips?
I mean, for me, it's about clearing emotion. So for me, I will kind of bounce on my heels. That helps me release anxiety. Or you can slam pillows into the ground. That's a little aggressive for me, but sometimes it works to release anger. So it's like you got to clear the emotion first of all, and then you can see what's underneath. And one of my mentors gave me a fantastic, simple prayer that was, I forgive everyone and everyone forgives me. And as soon as he said it, I felt the weight of the world go off my shoulders, where it's like, that's it. I don't actually have to worry about any of this anymore. So you keep coming back to that, just reminding yourself, I forgive everyone and everyone forgives me. Everyone was doing the best they could when they could. I was doing the best I could when I could.
Yes.
And that's all we got, you know?
That's all we got. How about you?
So what I like to do is sort of like look at the situation and sort of like see if you can like peel it back a bit and see what's true. And there might be something in there that's true that's a little bit negative, but you can still change it to be like, well, that's something I'm working on, or, you know, not that it's this impossible thing. And I think somehow when I do that, I can then be like, okay, I can forgive myself and I'm going to be working on this.
I do have a cat in my house that I don't want. You guys got me thinking about the cat. I'm not going to kick the cat, but I do take out frustrations on the cat sometimes, like, get out of my way. But, yeah, I have this metaphor I've been using for a while about a backpack, that how heavy it is to carry around all this stuff, and visualizing, like, unzipping that thing and letting it start, you know, maybe a little bit at a time. Some days it's heavier than others, and just letting this stuff go, because I don't want to carry it anymore.
Wow, those were good, right? So we talked about the way people treat you and how we have to just accept, you know, certain things. And what you had something good to say about that. Talk about it.
Well, I think Donna was talking, you know, I had mentioned that, you know, sometimes it isn't about us, that we, you know, I feel that it's, you know, it's on the other person, that whatever was going on with them, it's not really about us. But then Donna said something really good about sometimes there's mirroring going on, and there really is something going on for us in that interaction, and being able to look at that and what that brings up for us. So I just thought that really kind of aggravates me that she says that, because I have a friend that tells me all the time, so how did that reflect on something in your life in the past? And then I got to sit there and rack my brain about how it's connected to me, and then that aggravates me.
Why? Why does that aggravate you? It's kind of like peeling back, like we said, the layers of what's happening and going on.
I guess because it's easier to look at the other person and saying, hey, that's on them. They were acting like a jerk, you know, rather than looking at, so what did that bring up for me, and why? Like, why was I upset about it? Right. Yeah, I don't want to do the work, really. Yeah.
Sometimes we're tired, and that's okay too.
What do you got to say about it, Carolyn?
And not something about that, but I'll just say I find it easier to have better self-forgiveness for me if I'm surrounded by people who love me and accept me. And obviously that's not something we can always do. But if we're feeling worthy, it's going to be a lot easier to say to ourselves, like, oh, I messed up, but I did the best I can. So
I think you can, though. I keep my circle real tight. And most of the people who in my circle are understanding of who I am and accepting. So I think you really have to keep it tight. You got to keep that circle around you with people that really understand you.
Yeah.
I think that's important. And because then it's like, well, no, you can't be surrounded by that all the time, but those people don't matter.
okay.
And you got to do the work, Denise.
Oh, there's days where, I want to get into doing the work, and then there's other days where it's like, you get attached to somebody else's behavior and thinking like, it's all about them.
And that's why you have to extend yourself grace. So what does that look like, extending yourself grace? Because we say it all the time. People say, oh, you got to give yourself grace. But do you really even know what that means? Mm-hmm. So what does that look like? extending yourself, giving yourself grace? What does that look like?
I mean, I've talked a lot about having emotion and how that's key. I think forgiving yourself for those emotions and understanding that they're also valid. You probably are angry and you probably are upset about something that happened to you. So it's also saying to yourself, I have these emotions, they're valid, and it's okay. I understand why I would feel this way in these certain circumstances. So I think allowing is always grace, is just accepting where you are at this moment, and that's it.
What do you guys think?
I was thinking grace is also like saying that it's okay what happened and that you can work on it, and it doesn't change. It doesn't, because you made a mistake or whatever, you overreacted or you said the wrong thing, it doesn't change you. So you're accepting the grace of like, okay, I can move on.
I think it's about being patient with yourself. I mean, we extend so much patience with other
Others.
people every day, and we have so much forgiveness, not always, but sometimes it's harder to forgive people, but, we try to forgive others, like, why not ourselves? So I think it's about being patient and recognizing that we're human, like you opened up. We're human.
We're human.
Yep.
And that is so good, and you have to remember to extend yourself grace. I want to go back to something Donna said. Donna talked a lot about emotions today and how you're supposed to just feel what you feel and then release it. But are all emotions good? Because sometimes, we tend to think we're the victim when we're dealing with self-forgiveness. It's a process you got to go through. They hurt me, the victim mentality. So is it like all emotions, are they all good? Is it like, oh, they're all valid? Are they all valid?
They're all valid.
Even if you're wrong?
Yeah, I think that's a fair word. Valid, good. We don't want to, but valid, sure. If they're there for a reason. So I don't think questioning why they're there ever serves us. I think feeling them and working through to clear them is what we need to focus on versus condemning them. Trust me, I've done it. I'm trying not to anymore.
Yeah, don't condemn them. How you guys feel about that?
I think my issues with anxiety stem from a time when I was 10 years old where I was told that my emotions were not okay. I don't know if anybody said good or bad, but I was told not to feel them, and that really can mess you up. So I think Donna's right. We have to feel them, say they're valid. We don't necessarily have to quantify them good or bad, and then, deal with them.
I agree with that. I mean, the problem is emotions can be scary sometimes, to let that in, to let yourself feel it. But I feel like they gain more power when we repress them. So, really is a good exercise to be able to, take a look at it, feel it, and let it go.
Yeah. You want to feel it, but you don't want to live in it.
Right.
Yes. That's when it gets
Swim in
exhausting.
it.
Yeah, because if you live there, you start to develop like stomach problems, stress, anxiety, even the more, and emotions are all valid, but you have to make sure, I want to say, like, you have to make sure that you are right. You're right, because sometimes we're wrong. And we don't want to think we're right all the time. So you have to, that's like you said, peel it back, look at it, and reflect on it. Don't live there, though, because I tend to do that. I have to examine, like, what did she say? What did I say? And then you come to a point when you figure out, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe that was the wrong thing to say.
Yeah.
And then that's how you learn to move past. So you learn from your mistake. Have you learned from any mistakes lately?
All the time. All the time. I mean, yeah, and then what you were saying, too, I was thinking this metaphor where it's like a boiling pot never gives you, like, clarity.
Yeah.
Like, you have to let everything settle in order for the clarity to come through. And then you'll get all mad in your head, and you sort of let this thing settle, and then you'll get that one little thought that's like, or you could have done something differently, and it's like, oh, all right, I gave you space for that to come through. Yes, you're probably right. Okay. But it takes a lot of, like, simmering down. You got to get through that emotional
You
bubble.
gotta let it simmer down to get to the meat of what's going on. And you will, if you sit with it, if you sit with yourself, if you think about it. I brew a lot sometimes when things are bad, and I think about it and I flip it this way and I flip it that way. And then, after a while you just like come to the conclusion, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said this, or maybe that wouldn't have happened if I did this. Do you immediately apologize? Do you say self, I'm sorry, or person, I'm sorry?
I would say sometimes, but I don't always.
Even though you know the answer.
Oh, yeah. Because I think you're going to have those moments where you're like, no, I'm going to hold on to this and I'm going to be so mad at myself and I'm going to be like, oh, you should have known and, be really hard on myself. So, yeah, I'll do that for sure.
How about you, Denise?
Again, I think I carry things around sometimes for a while when it comes to self forgiveness, and so it has to come, and sometimes it'll come up at the most random time where I'll have a thought about something that happened. So it's not always immediate for me. Sometimes reflection comes later. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to that Hawaiian prayer. When you start to see those emotions coming up, when do you have to stop and say, I'm sending all the love to the past. I forgive myself now. You start to hone it to be a very immediate process. I used to have much more hang time than I do now. I'm much quicker at picking it up and realizing what I'm feeling that needs love or forgiveness and sort of doing it in the moment. So the more you do it, like an affirmation, the more you do it, the more it becomes natural. And
Listen, check your emotions, peel it back, examine it, self-reflect, and open that backpack and let these things go, all right? And I want to let you know to do some affirmations. I am forgiven. I extend myself grace. I am loved. I am not selfish. I am deserving of forgiveness. We are here to inspire you, to motivate you, to affirm, to lift you up, to love on you, all right? And so we hope you enjoy this segment, self-forgiveness, and we want you to forgive yourself. Let it go, breathe. And if you have to slam some pillows, slam some pillows. If you got to get frustrated with the cat, don't kick the cat. Just tell it to move out of your way, all right? And I am Dr. Joan Coleman. This is The Exchange. I'm with
Donna Hutchinson,
Carolyn Poiker,
Denise Cavalier.
and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.